All right, let's have a word of prayer. Lord God, thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to gather together here and to consider future. There are places where this kind of discussion would be moot. Help us express what we think and feel, and then guide the session as it makes a decision about direction. In the name of Christ we pray, amen. Now, as I said last week, we're going to hold this gathering to no more than 45 minutes because we've already talked about it before. I don't think there's any reason to stretch it out and out and out. Before we do that, though, there are some meeting notes that I want to share with you that I jotted down. In case anybody has a question, the purpose for this meeting is to state the case for either selling the building and relocating or staying here and trying to lease or sell the education building. You know, our focus is on the present and the future. It is not on the past, although I recognize the past is certainly involved. And this is the opportunity for y'all to speak before the session meets and decides. Now, the reason that I called this meeting, this isn't a congregational meeting, this is just a congregational gathering, because there's no business for the congregation to actually do, but to express your feelings. Therefore, it's not an official meeting. The reason we're having this, and the session will be meeting later, is we have got to start planning. You know, we do. And where we're going to spend the next 5 years, 10 years, 50 years is pertinent in what we're going to do. Because being on the corner of Cove and Main, how you do ministry between the Millsop Center and the police station or the city building is different than if you're a neighborhood on Marlin Heights, on Collier's Way, or someplace else. It just is. And therefore, we have to have a direction. I have got a committee that can start meeting next week, next Sunday. You know, but we've got to know what we're planning. Are we planning on how do we bring people to this location, or how do we work in another location? And those are two very different things. So that's why we're meeting this morning, and that's why I'm pushing the session to make a decision. Down south, we call it fishing or cutting bait. And cutting bait is important, because you can't fish without cutting bait. You know, a lot of people think you gotta fish or cut bait, that cutting bait is bad. No, you gotta do it. But if you spend all day cutting bait, Kathy, what? You ain't gonna do any fishing. You know, or what's even worse is if you spend all day cutting bait, the sun's gonna go down and you ain't gonna be able to fish. And that's my concern. That if we don't get a direction, we're just going to wait until the direction is given to us. We inherit a direction. And then we don't have anything planned. You know, and now we're doing things on the fly, which I don't think is a particularly good idea. Okay, so that's the purpose of the meeting. Before we get into talking about it, a few words of thanks that I want to make personally. And understand all of this is personal. You can take it or leave it, whatever you choose to do. I want to thank Phil and Rocky for all the work you've done with the real estate agent. Okay, very, very good. I want to thank Chris. Yay, Chris. For all the cost gathering that she's found. A lot of it having to do the cost of staying here. Some, if we choose not to. I want to thank Rick, and I saw Rick, yes, because Rick went and visited the old Millsop School this last week and may share some of his impressions, because Rick has inherited Dean's mantle. You know, when Dean was taken up, into heaven in a chariot, a fiery chariot. Not yet, symbolically. He dropped his mantle that Rick picked up. And so Rick knows this building almost as well as Dean.
I had a new build. He got a 50-year-old.
Yeah. Which means you won. Okay, and of course everybody who has prayed. Now, having said that, just a few personal thoughts. And the first one is in reference to the sermon I preached about 3 weeks ago. And there was one thing that I think I missed on, but there's another thing I think I hit well. I have, in the 3 weeks since that sermon, I have come to realize it is not as simple as, is the church the people or is the church the building? Which I said, I didn't allude to, I pretty much said that was kind of a choice we had. And it is not that simple. Some people believe that the church, because we all say, oh, the church is the people, right? Everybody's going to say the church is the people, but there are some folks who are very sincere and believe the church is the people and the people can best serve God by being here. Now, that's not meaning they love the building more than the people. That's not the case at all. They love both. There are other people that believe that the cost of operating and maintaining this particular building is hindering our ability to do the work of Jesus Christ in West Virginia. They believe that just as sincerely. So it's not a matter that one is right and the other one is wrong. They are both very sincere and they both look at building and people. So I missed that. What I got right, I think, is there is tension between emotions and reason. And that's okay. I mean, there are some folks here that are emotionally invested in this building. I know that. You know that. That's okay. As long as you recognize that there are others who aren't emotionally invested and who believe that God has given us the chance to start something brand new somewhere else. Some are focused on how we can best use our limited resources of both money and people, that's important to them. We don't have an unlimited amount of money. We've got, endowment about $750,000. That is not indefinite. That will not last forever. There are some folks that say, with limited resources, and look around, we have limited people, that we can best use those someplace else, while others say, no, we should best use them here. There is some tension between reason and emotion. And like I said, I don't want to suggest one is right and the other is wrong, because it's not. Not if we understand one another. One side isn't more spiritual than the other. I will say that in a minute. Okay. Something else just to file away. I doubt very, very seriously that there's anything in this meeting, not the session meeting later, because the session's got to look at it from a different angle. They've got to look at it for what's best for the church, not what they feel personally is best for them. That's a harder job. But for y'all, that's not what you don't have to worry about that. You're looking at, once you look at what's for you, what you're feeling. I don't think anybody's going to be convinced at the end of 45 minutes. So the people that feel emotionally tied here and this is the place we need to be, they are not going to shift their opinion any more than the other will shift theirs. Don't expect that to happen, and that's okay. That's okay, as long as we recognize that we're one family. I do have a few requests as we go about doing this. One, I'm going to ask to keep things focused on staying or relocating. Staying and trying to lease or selling and relocating. I want that to be the focus. Please, and I am, no. Let's not get personal. Let's not get personal. But I will tell you, if it gets personal, what I am going to challenge you to do is I'm going to challenge you to pull an Elsa. I want you to pull an Elsa. You know what I'm talking about? Let it go. You know, I am so serious about that. I want you to look at that pretty young woman right there behind Wayne, sitting by Tina. I have already asked her that if she sees me, because she knows, if she sees me starting to take things personal and reacting, she is going to give me a high sign. Now, it's going to be exciting to find out what that sign is. I don't know. but I am dead serious. We're not going to dwell on it. And my intention is we're going to let it go. And we are not going to spend 20 minutes in some personal foolishness. But although I don't want to discourage ideas about what we can do either relocated or here, I don't want to discourage ideas. I really don't think this is the best time to talk about, forming a praise band or, starting a children's after-school program. That's for another meeting. That'll come, but we got to decide, are we doing it here or are we doing it somewhere else? So I don't want to blow a lot of time on speculating on plans. And I've shared with you some of those thoughts anyway. We got to be real careful. We're not in a Mickey Rooney, Judy Garland movie. It's a heck of a lot harder than just saying, let's do a Broadway show. It's really, really hard. And that's why this may not be the best time to talk about it. Okay, so we're going to be focused. Let's be respectful. Thank you, Maggie. I asked Adam Dowler. I talked to Adam, or corresponded with Adam the other day, and he said he was going to try to get something to me. I left my phone at home. So if he did, it's in my phone. Let's be respectful. When Maggie, who just left, when she was a little girl, when she would say something that wasn't very nice, that beautiful woman back there would say to her, was that gentle and kind? Let's be gentle and kind. I mean, we're brothers and sisters in Christ, for crying out loud. And let's recognize two things, and then I'm going to shut up. Both those who believe it's best to stay and those who believe it is best to relocate, they both want to save our church. Now, I've heard folks saying, and that's great, we need to save our church. And it's kind of become associated with save our church meeting in this place. And that's fine. But I don't want that to suggest that if somebody thinks that God has really given us the chance to relocate, they don't want to save the church at all. They're anti-church. That's not fair. I'll tell you right off, that's not fair. Because I don't know a person in this room who's staying that doesn't want to save this church. Now, it may not be here. It may be starting anew someplace else. But they want to save this church. So, I don't want it to get down to, the good guys and the bad guys. Because I don't think that's right. The last thing that I want to just as, a personal thought. God is in control. But is the most powerful word in the English language. I believe firmly that God is in control. But He holds us accountable for how we use the resources He's given us. He holds us accountable. I already know there's a lot of things He's going to hold me accountable for. I will tell you that right now, as I've said to you, some of you before, if you find yourself behind me going up to the judgment seat, I'm in front of you, I hope you brought a lunch. Because Jesus is going to be with me for a while. There's a lot of things. Now, I believe He's going to forgive me, because He loves us. But I think we're still held accountable for what we do with what we've been given. So those two things are working together. God is in control, therefore his will is going to be done, but we're also accountable. Now, as we go through this, I'm going to try as best I can to vary. And I'm going to recognize hands, but if I have 5 people that say we need to stay in a row, I will solicit somebody to speak because I'm looking at y'all. I know there are people that don't feel that way. I don't want it to become one-sided because they're going to leave saying, I didn't get a chance to talk. And I don't want anybody to leave having that feeling. Okay? Any questions? Yes, of course.
Just, Ed kind of stole my thunder, guys, on that.
And that's hard to do.
Please say what's on your mind, because I can tell you a couple weeks ago, the impression, I think that arguably was left by the folks that stood up and said, the church is not the building. I had as many people, if not more, come up to me privately with a diametrically opposed view. So please don't leave it to speculating or surmising what people are thinking. Somebody at one point accused me/others on the session of being yes men for Ed, and frankly, I tell you that it's always been done respectfully, but if he's off base on something, in my humble opinion, I shared that with him privately and with an audience of other session members. So the worst thing that can happen today is people walk out and just grousing over something that you don't say. So I cannot be more sincere about that. And with that said, have at it.
Okay. Yes.
Offer made on the building.
Here. There was an offer. Yes, there was an offer made on the building. It had, we could, and Phil O'Rourke may be in a better position to talk about that. There was some negotiating going on between the parties. We weren't on the same page, but we were in the neighborhood. We were in the same book, maybe the same chapter, but not the same page. The concern was that if we didn't have a place, if we hadn't figured out a place to go, it might be unwise to bring to the congregation the sale of this building without an alternative space.
So that's off the books.
I don't know that that's all.
Okay.
Yeah.
But if we're not listed anymore.
We are not listed, and Phil, you can speak to that.
Yeah, I don't want to dominate this, guys, but some of these fill in some of the gaps. That's a fair question. J.J. Guida, who's the realtor with whom we're dealing, for their own licensing purposes, cannot continue to list a property where there are, this is beyond known contingencies. They asked us if we would add, what if we put some timing considerations to allow you to get the requisite votes? Because not only do you folks need to vote, the presbytery would need to vote. But the issue, and again, as I said earlier, I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. I know Ed feels very strongly that the location dictates the plan. I respectfully am of the mind that it's kind of a three-legged stool, that there's, this location, another location, and the plan. I'm not so sure. Again, I love Ed. He's, it's just a philosophical view. So the point there being that it isn't just there's another location. It's just, even if the economics were to work out, we have no idea that's an auction for that location, meaning who knows what it would end up being, who knows what the renovation costs would be. I know Rick looked, I think he took a swag at 50 grand, what have you. Even with respect to this building, I'm trying to give some information that above me on your question. The sale price of this building, absent, you take away the sales commission and forget the true up with the academy and whatnot. There's still, once they do the inspection, they come in and say, you got this wrong, this wrong, this wrong, this wrong. Guess what happens? Either there's a credit to the sales price or we get it fixed. So this is not as simple, it's not rocket science, but there are a lot of moving parts that you don't know until you get in there. So I hope that answers your question.
Okay. Why stay? Why relocate? Okay.
fine.
I don't know. I hear it.
No clarification.
Okay, you're looking for clarification. And I can hear you, I'll repeat it.
Okay. Now, is any better?
You sound like God.
I don't feel like it. This is actually an informative meeting, not a regular congregation meeting.
That's right.
So basically, we're not going to do any voting today.
No, but the session will.
Well, that's the next one.
Yeah.
And my next point is, and I'm not trying to put anybody in ill ease or anything. I disagree with you when you say about non-members can stay and so forth. They should not comment. I think only members should comment because only members can do the voting. All right?
Only members can do the vote.
So I don't think that any member should be influenced by, unless you want to do it outside the church, outside the congregation. So I don't think that non-members should be participating in it.
Then,
Some personal feelings, I'm not trying to cast light on it. I don't even know now, even here now, who is a member and who's not a member. The next thing is, we're going to talk about today, stay, leave.
I hope so.
And then the session is going to make a decision. But is the session only going to make a decision on what to recommend to a congregational meeting?
Good question. What the session is going to do, what I hope the session does, and I have been asked to leave, and I'm going to leave. What I believe we need to do is we cannot continue to have 1 foot in, selling, moving, leasing, staying. And we can't continue that for the next 4 months until the decision's made for us when the academy moves out and there's nobody to buy the building. I don't believe we can continue to do that. I want us the session to decide which avenue to pursue. If the session decides that we are going to pursue leasing or selling the education building, that's what we'll do. We'll tell the real estate agent we are no longer interested in selling it. That's our path. The committee that I formed will meet next Sunday. We will start making plans on how we can become viable here. Because one thing we know is we can't continue to do what we've done for 20 years because there's been declines. We gotta figure out what we're gonna do starting now. If this is going to be our home, that's what we're going to be doing. If though the session says we are going to actively pursue selling, then that's what we tell the real estate agent. We may take away some of those provisions that Guida has concerns about, or we'll look at that. That's going to be the route we go, and we actively start searching for a home that meets what we feel we can do as a congregation. It is not anything the congregation can vote on, because doesn't have to do with selling any property. It's rather the route we continue, we go.
The congregation does not have a vote on the session's recommendation.
The congregation doesn't vote on which one they pursue. The congregation votes on selling the building, but the congregation doesn't vote on should we sell the building. That's not a congregational decision. I mean, the book of order, that's not what the congregation does.
That's what we're confusing there. The session says, let's say we're going to sell the building. Then we have a general congregational meeting. The congregational meeting, the vote is, don't sell the building.
Right. Then we start from scratch. We go back. We really need, and I don't want to cut you off, but I really don't want it to be a long meeting. I want everybody to have a chance to say, I understand what you're saying.
Monopolize it, I just want, there's not a lot of sense in pursuing stuff that you're not going to be able to have a vote on by the session until somebody else makes a decision, and then you vote it down, and you gotta start all over again.
Point taken. Yes.
One thing, I'm not a member, but I am a broker, owner of real estate.
Yes.
in New York. First of all, we I'm sure has an exclusive right. Why can't you put in, you can sell as is, so you don't have to get their sales as is. Number one, I think you need your NOI, your net operating expenses, maybe passed out to all these members and see how much you're losing per year and projections going forward. The more you lose, the more in the hole you are. If you have a viable buyer, put in there, if the listing is expired, sell as is. Don't deal with all the, it's on them to do the inspections, whatever. I'm just saying you should have an NOI and have all the expenses for the whole congregation.
Thank you. Yeah. Other hands. Autumn. And then I'll get to, Autumn had it up first. And then Patty.
I've heard the best way to figure out a situation is to make two of those things.
Okay. Thank you. Patty.
Okay, my question is, it sort of goes along with what Mr. Mandy is saying. It says that Cove Presbyterian Church has 230 members, active members. Has every member of this church been notified of this meeting today?
It was sent out on our emailing list. It was not mailed.
Okay, so you're saying, if you get email, you got it. I did not get it. Roger got it, but I did not get that message about this meeting today.
It was announced in church last week, and it was sent out in an email this last week.
So my point would be, 230 members of Cove Church, not everybody has been notified of this meeting, so how can you make such an important decision when not everybody that's a member of Cove Church has been told about the meeting? I mean, I know there's a lot of members of Cove Church who do not come here anymore, but I know there are members of Cove Church who don't come for different reasons. So, that's my point.
Okay? Yes.
I speak I have as much as you're going to be. Can anybody hear me?
Yeah, you're cool.
I think this thing is on. I don't speak from any other side point but practicality. And I don't know how to turn it on.
I don't think it's working.
Okay, how about this?
Yeah.
I don't speak as a member of the church or as anything else other than myself, so take that for what it's worth. But I come from a very practical standpoint, and for me to make a decision, I'd like to ask Phil a question. I'd like to know a little bit about what is more practical. What are we looking at here? Because, like I said, practicality is not a popular viewpoint. So I am on neither side. I am dead set in the middle. And I'd like to know, from a practical standpoint, which is better for us. Because we can't do something unless we can do it practically.
Chris, you've got some information. Because Chris has been doing work on building, renovation, building costs, so it'll be just one side of the coin. It's not the other side.
This is a lot of information, and we don't have the amount of time that it's going to take to go over this. This young man, Sean Cragen, came from Windows R Us.
Yes.
He's going to give us an estimate on these windows up in the bell tower, and the bell and the choir, that are dangerous. And they could, during a storm, they could crack, they could fall out. Anything can happen up there. So if we stay here, this is an estimate that you absolutely have to have. And another one, a big safety issue, are the exterior doors. They're not even up to code anymore. Most of them are wooden. They're not allowed to be wooden. A lot of the panic bars don't work anymore. That's against the code. So Sean is going to represent that side of it, and he has a beautiful vision for these windows that are glass blocked, and we could put crosses in them, and it would be very pretty. The rest of my stuff, if you want to talk to me later about these, are actual estimates, because the contractors have not gotten back to me yet with actual estimates. But they're going to be humdingers. But a lot of these are actual emergency estimates and things that have to get done here.
We can make a copy, though, and send it out.
Yes.
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 Okay.
And there are also grant possibilities also, which can alleviate some of these costs. Whether we apply for these grants and get them or not, that's anybody's ball game. Who knows? But there are grants available, and Patty has devoted a lot of time in that area researching these grants. And that's great. And John?
And that all hinges upon us staying, correct?
Absolutely. We have to be here in that building for those to apply.
Okay. Those grants are not available to us if we should move.
Well, but they're different grades. They're different grades.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Thank you.
Sean?
Okay, what I was tasked to do, I think it was like 2 weeks ago, they brought me
We
around.
started, this is like a month ago, but yeah, it's been a while.
So I looked basically at the things she wanted done that were a safety concern, and the two main things were the windows. Okay.
There you go. Good luck with that.
Hello.
Wait a minute.
Not working.
You can,
You hold it down.
well, no, this is working.
Hello.
All right, here you go. Just
Okay.
speak into that.
Okay, good. Can you hear me? Yep. Okay. So the two things that I looked at in particular are the doors that are a concern. I think it was all of them, all the doors.
All the exteriors.
Besides the front door, which I haven't priced out yet, but I was waiting on a couple things. That's that main
Okay,
door,
yes,
the big,
yes.
big wood door. So all the other doors I did price. All those doors are going to meet code, fire rating code. None of them are going to be trying to make spectacular like stained glass, because a lot of them are in areas where you don't see them. It's more for safety and to make sure that the building is secured. They are going to be locked, and everywhere that is getting a door that's leading to the outside is going to have panic hardware in case of a fire. You know, you can get out. So I think there was a total of 8 doors. I'll have to go through here and look. There was the only double door was the one leading right back here. Okay. So for all the doors, now I have all this broken down on an estimate, but it's $23,798. Now, I did provide pictures and any other information that you guys get together that you need from me, pictures, resources of any kind, you would just let the leaders know, and then I will get that for everybody. So right under $24,000, that's for all the doors that I quoted. And if you guys need, you might want to get a list and go around and look and see the doors that I actually quoted. But if there's any questions at all, then you would let me know. Now,
I believe that's even the academy, except for that brand new door. There's a brand new door somewhere that is not in it.
yeah, that's that bronze door. It's a brown door. Okay, so the second thing is the big glass wall that's behind you guys. So basically, what we were planning on doing, and this is all has to be approved, obviously, by the city, because there's probably going to have to be an engineer involved. I wanted to try to keep the cost down as much as I could. So we planned on actually reusing the steel structures, steel slats. Now, we did a job at a church in Mingo Junction, and I did provide pictures, but we did glass block. And there's some glass block. Pittsburgh glass block makes a line of block that is actually produced in Italy, and they're colored glass block. And you can actually design whatever design you want with all the different colors that they offer. I provided pictures for those. So what I did was, instead of ripping everything out and starting over, because you have a really, really high cost in that, I actually just sectioned. Each individual section, you guys can pick whatever color glass block and set it up however you want, design-wise. And it makes a little bit more sense with the pictures I provided. But you can, and it is blocks, so you got to think about blocks. So you can do crosses with different colors. And then there's ones that you can see through a little bit better. There's one that's a little bit more obscure. So depending on how much you want to be able to see in or out, you can move around the blocks how you want. I did bring a couple samples, but like I said, the best way to understand this is to look at the one bigger job that we did in Mingo Junction. But this is the glass block here. And I think there's a total of, 8 or 9 colors you can pick from. Now this is the clear version, okay? The more obscure version would be those same, the 8 colors that you can pick from, and they would be frosted like this, okay? So it just depends on how much you want to be able to see in. Now you can also intermix maybe a couple of the square sections or rectangle sections. You can actually do a clear block, so you can see out of the church. So that's how I priced this. Now, the total price, so you have a total of 27 openings there, okay? You have 17 openings that are 46 3/4 by 107 1/2 inches tall. And then you have 10 openings that are 46 3/4 by 52 1/2 inches tall. The 17 openings that are bigger, the total installed, 65,348. The 10 openings that are the smaller units, 16,220. Now, just because we're reusing the actual steel structure itself does not mean that we're just going to leave it open and exposed. We'll be capping, wrapping, and sealing inside and outside. So basically, it'll look all brand new. We're just going to use the support structure in behind it because we're trying to save money, okay? Now, there's probably about 70 or 80 different colors you can pick from to do that capping inside and outside. Outside of that, we kind of bat around the idea where you could, and it wouldn't be by us, but it would be by a plate glass company, like All Glass out of Weirden. You could do plate glass in certain openings and then use the glass block in the other openings, just to jazz it up a little bit. And that should be able to get your cost down by not doing glass block on the whole thing. Now, I'm not a plate glass expert, but I have a feeling it's going to be a little bit cheaper than doing each opening in glass block. So that's another alternative. If you want to jazz it up a little bit, make it look a little bit nicer, pick certain ones that you want to do the glass block in and do plate glass other areas. Now, she did say it was a safety concern. The main reason is there is cracks in that glass, so you know it's not tempered. Because if it was tempered, it would break like car glass, small little pieces. So as it is right now, it has very large cracks in it. If those ever break free, it'll be like a huge knife coming down and cutting somebody. Besides that, there are preventative measures you can take. There's some films you can put on the inside. That way, if it does break, it'll hold it together. It's not anything, it's just a concern in the future, I think there is a film on the inside of that.
Yes.
So that might be enough to where if you ever do have one of those windows break, it'll kind of hold it together until you can get it addressed. So outside of that, so the total for the 2, if you did the whole opening glass block, and this is including wrapping all the metal inside and outside, would be I just have to add the 2 numbers together. 81,568.
81,000.
81,000. That's everything. Yes. So that's, we're going to reuse the structure itself, but we're going to cover, wrap, and seal the outside.
Now, we haven't, thank you so much for your presentation. Thank you.
I'll leave the pictures up front here.
Good.
So you
Thank
guys
you. Thank you. Why should we stay? Why should we reload? I mean, that I haven't heard. Yeah, and I think that's where the rubber hits the road. Why do you think we should stay? Why do you think we should relocate? Dale, I'm going to hit the people that haven't talked yet. Dale.
I still think we need to downsize. I mean, he just gave you
Now, in case you didn't hear. Dale, would you say that again?
I still think we need to downsize. The fellow just gave you a perfect example of why, and that's just one thing to be fixed. With the doors, we don't have the congregation to support maintaining this. I mean, the building has everything that the church needs, but I'm still on the side of downsizing. I think money could be better spent going another direction. Oh, that's it.
Yeah, okay.
I'm gonna drag
Of course, we had this program called quality management, which is, I shouldn't say this in church, this is a problem. But one of the things that we did is we put a whiteboard up. Gotta take a job and think of something like this. Okay, we put pros and cons. You know, anything out there. The kitchen stinks, carpet stirred. And then you make a big list, and then you look at everything. Well, let's take this off. This is stinky. Market. Get down, whatever, and then make a decision based on that. Because, I mean, right now, I don't think there's enough out there.
Yes.
I'm saying.
Okay. Anybody? Yes.
Okay, without making any repairs, my bill right now is $1,100.
What's the general income?
This is execution.
Expenses are. So you don't take anything in near that.
And of course, in December, at the end of December, we will be losing $3,600.
The projection that was mentioned when we met the last time, guys, was assuming that the academy space is not filled, the annualized, correct me if I'm wrong, Rocky, would be about $50 grand annually, and that doesn't take into account any repair. That's just assume a steady projection relative to what's coming in and what's going out.
Yeah.
I, of course, just want what's best for the church. One of my concerns, though, is if we were to release or sell that space, which is the educational building, we would not have a joint venture with the government. The police department has talked about perhaps using it. We would not be allowed in that space any longer. We would not. We would not have space for educational purposes. We would not have space for the food pantry. We would not have space for the deacon's closet. The Myrtle McHenry room would no longer exist. The property adjacent to that would probably, if we sold it, would become their property. We would not have access to the playground area anymore. And that's one of my biggest concerns because if we stay in this church, we want to grow the church, but yet we're not going to have the space outside the sanctuary to do that. Even sometimes now with the kids, if we have something function going down at Fellowship Hall, we can't utilize that space, so we have to use those educational rooms for those purposes. But that is probably one of my biggest concerns outside of the use of endowment funds and what is the best stewardship of those funds, whether it's to continue to maintain all of the expenses of this church or to try to do something cost effective as far as selling or relocating and being able to do something different in our ministry. And like I said, I just want the best for our congregation.
I've been in this church for many years. And I would like to stay. I want to know how much it's going to be if we move. Is it going to be more to obtain another building? And where would we go if that's the case? There's not a whole lot of room in this town for another, would we have to build a church or buy another building or lease another building? How much is that going to cost compared to what we have here? I don't know, but I'm voting for staying. I love this church, and maybe by having Debbie have preschool and start her own. I mean, we've got, because I think Debbie, well, anyway, I'm for staying, and I know there's a lot here that's for staying. Moving is a big job, and I want to know, compared from what we have to pay here to stay, how much is it going to cost us to move?
Okay. Twinkle is doing this.
What you just did right there with this cross on the windows and everything, that's almost like a fear factor for us without being able to justify where we're going and pros and cons and costs. I think we need to ignore what happened there because as far as I'm concerned, that's a fair out. You tried to throw the wool over some people's eyes and that would scare at people.
Oh. Okay. The presentation about the windows was it was presented to scare people into wanting to leave. Is that to scare people into wanting to leave? I didn't present it, so yeah, yeah. Okay.
Oh, hello. A couple of things. I think
We can't hear you.
we didn't speak to the realtor about putting the school up separate, and I think we decided that that's not, it doesn't make sense financially or otherwise for the future of the church, especially if we decide to stay here. I think so. I think that we've got to even consider that as part of our where we're going with things.
In the context of a sale, though.
It would impact the sale, the whole value of our whole piece of property. And I think that's something that we should probably not consider.
Okay.
Continue to
Yeah,
think about.
if I may.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go off script here, guys, because I don't want this going on the rails, and I don't want people leaving here pissed off. Sorry to use rough language in church. And this is going to go to my earlier point about, lest anybody think I or any of the session members are yes men for Ed. We, and namely I, had a subtle, maybe not so subtle boot in the rear as they get out in front, get people to rally around what we're doing. I'm frankly a little bit concerned about how today would go because, when Ed teed it up, he teed it up. And I know, my view is this, I know that whether the analogy is, cutting bait or chewing cabbages, I think as can be seen, and John, you raised the issue of the practical part. I can assure you that the people that have been involved with this have not been sitting on their hands for these many months. To know how much it costs to go somewhere is obviously a function of where you go. What Chris is doing, and notwithstanding Danny's comments, this was not done for pretense or what have you. I don't know what the costs are here. I know the comment that was made, I don't know if she's still here, but selling it, as is. That's a pragmatic approach. I don't know what that does to the amount because the 3 1/4 is based on what, I think Patty, you had mentioned that certainly the replacement value, not today, but in your letter, and thank you for all your input there, but the replacement value, guys, for insurance purposes is typically vastly different than the market value, or at least it can be. So, you know, we talked to a lot of folks, appraisers, inspectors, before the decision, and they pretty much came up with that amount. Just so everybody knows, the amount that J.J. Guida proposed, that if we were to offer the academy space only for sale, was 149. So kind of do the math, proportionally 149 relative to 3.25. So to Rocky's point, the reason that we think that doesn't make sense economically, just notwithstanding, again, not minimizing what Debbie said, that at 149 less, there are things that we would obviously have to do, utilities, you know, cordoning off the two structures, any repair. So then, again, everything unfortunately is coming down from that. Then the issue is relative to what you could lease it for. They were proposing $4,000. Again, people may think that's nuts, but that's what they were proposing. So there's a point of intersection or crossover where, you know, X number of months at $4,000, you're to the good relative to if you got the, you know, whatever the net proceeds would be up front. So that is the only reason that, you know, that was, you know, respectfully taken off the table. To Mr. Manley's point, I can assure you that, you know, nobody here is going off, you know, half-cocked here trying to either, you know, play some kind of game or play, you know, procedural machinations. And I can tell you straight up, I'll step down before any of that nonsense is happening. The intent today is to try to solicit your views, not that then we go to the think tank and the powers that be make a decision and ram it down anybody's throat. That's not the intention as I understand it, and if that's where it goes, I'm done. So that, please, don't, people are left to their devices, and my concern was that we didn't address it. Patty, to your point, the membership issue has been a long-standing point of contention of culling of the rolls. Real quick, guys, if we run a little long, I think it's important enough to do that, so bear with me. Does everybody understand the tug with the membership rolls and the kind of the conundrum that's created? You know, we are viewed from the presbytery standpoint as a lot bigger than we are. And I use the air quotes because how do we decide how big we are? Is it a function of how many people, you know, is this effectively, give or take, the amount of people that are comprised, you know, our church, there could be elderly folks that maybe can't come, but I can assure you, it ain't anywhere near that number. And the philosophical debate that has happened over many years is, are you basically telling people you're not in the club anymore? We're gonna take you off, or unless you tell us that you want to stay on, we're going to take you off. Because for those of us, we're dealing with the presbytery right now, and Patty, you and John talked about the grants, low interest. That's one of the items they want to talk to us about. So there are other things afoot that are happening, but part of this is a perception issue, and we don't need to get off into all the rhetoric. The notion of notice to everybody, whatever that number is, there's still, heck, we got session members that don't have email. You know, so even just communicating in the ordinary course with them is a challenge. I think the pros and cons list that Chappie and one of our other folks mentioned is great. That's what we're trying to do. I think that the tug here is that the perception is enough already. We need to know. Well, I can tell you from Chris's perspective, and I know, you know, Rick, I don't know enough to run around the building and say it's X, but it is some amount of money that is, you know, and then there's a relative ranking of what do you need to do today? How much is an ADA compliance issue? How much of it is just it needs to be done for safety? And yeah, it's going to be a sizable amount. You know, the Millsop School, if let's just, you know, regardless of whether your views of staying here, going there, you know, neighborhood community, it remains to be seen. I know, you know, 50 grand is what that's on top, assuming that would be what it is, on top of whatever the auction price might produce. You know, we've had some people say, are you nuts, right off the bat? It's, you know, if it's gonna cost more to them to stay here, but then again, you gotta take into account what's the ongoing maintenance. So there's just a lot of moving parts. I think the biggest net to come out of this is for folks to realize that it isn't as simple as a yay or nay, and it isn't even, hopefully people are open to listen to reason, and again, whether it sways your opinion at the end of the day, those of us that are trying to move this forward as expeditiously as we can, we want to be able to look everybody in the eye and say, we made what we thought to present to you is our best informed reasons, not whether it's for a vote or it's just for your consideration. So before somebody digs in and says, over my dead body will we leave, just kindly listen to the assumptions that were presented. Yes, ma'am.
Now, I love this church. I love this church. I've been here quite a while. But I'm also someone who realizes the cost. And if we can't afford to keep the church, we at least should try to get enough out of it that we can go someplace and continue to be together instead of just going here and there. Thank you.
Fair enough. Appreciate that. Everybody catch that?
There are a couple of alternatives that we haven't discussed today, and that is that there are loans available through the presbytery and that there are grants available through the presbytery. I think before we start getting rid of this incredible asset that we have, we would never get back. We're never going to get this place back if we go to some small storefront church. So we've got to make sure we make the right decisions and take advantage of everything that is or may be available to us.
Yeah, and I'll just echo that, guys. And again, sorry to dominate, but I've been putting more time and effort into this, and I don't say that for any reason other than I don't take lightly one stinking thing that any of you folks have said or thought. And I have said to the point of pissing off people that I'm dealing with internally. People can question at the end of the day the decision. They ought not question the integrity of the process going along. So that's why I implore you, if you have something to say, for the love of God, please say it. Don't wait until the train is pulling away from the station and then come in, after the fact. It's just going to cause rancor.
I'm not a official member yet, so my vote, if there were a vote, wouldn't count. But I'm going to tell you right now, I have never felt at home like I do here. Wherever the congregation goes, whatever you sessions decide, I'll be there.
Yay, Sandy.
Okay, that's,
Except for John.
thank you, Dan. Dan asked when a final decision, first, just in terms of process, final decision will be made by the congregation. This is not a final decision. This is just an opportunity to voice opinions. Even when the session meets, it's not a final decision. You will make the final decision. And how you call a congregational meeting is a very specific thing. So it will be posted, there'll be mailing going out when the congregation votes. Yes, I am going to post it. In fact, if you notice, I'm recording it. And I've recorded the meeting. I'm going to post it. For some reason, the FBI wants a copy. I'm going to send a copy to them. And they mentioned your name in particular, John. So I'm going to post it. I will tell you exactly where. Well, it'll be in the Cove community blog, which is in your bulletin, but I'll also send links out on Facebook and email. Okay, and then I would come on.
I don't know, I need a microphone. Just let me say, religion was always something Patty and I argued about. We were raised in different churches. It got to a place where we didn't go to church. It was easier not to go than to argue. Scouts brought us here. For the last 10 years, I've been doing pulpit supply in churches that cannot afford a full-time minister. Churches with good congregations and loving people. But I'm telling you, like E.T. says, there's no place like home. You know, and I understand it's tough financially. I can't imagine. I appreciate the work and the hours everyone's spending. But my opinion is we need to do everything we can to cut as much cost as we can and try to stay here. I mean, that's where I am, and we'll see where it comes up. That's all.
Yeah, I just want to say that, did you think about putting it on TV about your problem that you're having here at Cove Presbyterian and getting some kind of sponsorship?
I don't know that we've explored sponsors, getting sponsors.
Yes,
No,
yes.
I don't know that we've explored that.
We
no.
can make it a reality show.
We could.
If you could do that,
I am more than happy to put ads on my
you
shirt.
will get the help.
Okay, thank you. Any?
Dean wants to.
Oh, Dean. Yeah, Dean.
You better, because he can't talk.
One thing you've got
Yeah.
Dean, he's getting
to consider, if we move out here, what's it gonna cost? Example, Marl High School. What's it gonna cost to remodel that place? Now, I found a bill here a few years ago for this church. The bill for labor for 1 week. Now, I'm talking carpenters, bricklayers, cement fitters, everybody. The wages for 1 year, or 1 week, was $3,500.
Yeah, now it'll be 65.
Oh, they cost you that for one or two men now.
Yeah.
So we have to consider that before you make a decision.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody?
I want to say.
I thought you were pointing at somebody, and then Rick, and then
You
Pam.
can hear me.
Oh, I don't think so.
I love this church too. I've been here 54 years. But we have to face reality. Are we going to get a bigger congregation to pay for the new one here or there? You know, that concerns me, the future.
Okay. Oh, I don't know whether that one works anymore.
Last week, I went up to Millsap School, evaluated, looked at it. So I was going to give you a presentation of my views and give you an alternate if we decide to move, one of the possibilities that's available to us. The Millsap School is the location's up like a blue tower in Farm Heights, very similar to that blue water tower. The school is, I'll give you a description of the school. It's made as a U shape, and it has 5 classrooms. 2 classrooms on one side of the wing, 3 classrooms on the other side of the wing. In the center of the U is a large administrative office area and a small office to that side. At the end of the one U is a 2-story structure that houses the gymnasium. And attached to the gymnasium is a kitchen facility, nice kitchen facility. The U structure shape was built in the mid-60s. It's been well maintained by Cook County. They have central air, central heat. The rooms are zone air conditioning where you can control the heat temperature in each room. In the center of that U, outside, is a playground area, equivalent to the playground area we have out here. There's a parking, well, it's an outside area, and it has potential for about 30 parking spaces. And one of the facilities has all the windows and doors are modern, energy efficient, up to date. And one of the things I like, since most of you know I broke my foot not too long ago, it was a single story. You had one step going into the facility. Now, the disadvantage I see of this facility, it's a school, so you're going to have to modify it to accommodate the church. It doesn't have this beautiful stained glass windows. It doesn't have a sanctuary. We have all kinds of, it just doesn't have that same feel of the traditional church. But it does have very efficient heating and air conditioning. It has parking, it has a playground area, it has classrooms, it has storage. These are the plus sides of it. It's in a nice residential area. We don't have traffic going back and forth with the trucks and stuff. But we don't have foot traffic either. But that was the positive sides of it I saw. But in the initial price, it's going to be at least $300,000. That's what the Brooke County is asking for open bids. So it'd be $300,000 just to go up there and what renovations accommodated for the church. I couldn't give you a good estimate, but I would say at least $50 for furnishings, because you would have to have furnish it for church use. Like I said, those are the pros and cons I saw of it. And if you have any questions, I'll try to answer them. But that's one alternate that we can move into.
Where did you see the sanctuary or place of worship?
I personally was going to put it in the gymnasium area. We have to modify that gymnasium area. It's a two-story facility, and I'm not sure what it would cost. We have that portable seating and then the multi-purpose rooms.
I think Rick told me he thought 125 people would fit in there. Is that what you thought?
Yes, Dan.
I'm not sure about that, Dan. The only thing I got was the county is auctioning off, and their minimum bid was $300,000. It could be more. I couldn't say anything on that.
They'll never do that. I know school systems. Unless they start high, and they come down. Way less.
Okay. Any other questions? Yeah. And I'm getting back to you, Paul.
Question I have is whoever was interested in purchasing our church couldn't share the church temporarily until we find instead of going to a school that was built when I was a kid.
That was part of the arrangement, that we would be able to lease back for 6 months.
Or finding another church that would let us.
That was on an interim basis, and the whole premise here again was that to approach you folks about selling, you take into account Roger's point and say, well, we can hang out here for a while with them until we go somewhere else. It's a fair suggestion, Debbie, logistically, that be accommodated, but the end game was, I think regardless of whether you want to stay or no, I think it is grossly a dereliction of duty to sell this building without, we better darn well know where we're going and not just have a combination here at the end.
Okay, now I heard that rumors of other people wanting to buy the old Kmart for a church. Now, that might be a possibility, but I don't know.
Patty, you said you had your hand up.
I do. Okay, just thinking about Cove Church and what Cove Church has meant to a lot of us over the years, because I have been a member here for 30 years, so it's not like I just came here yesterday. But through the years, Cove Church has sponsored many groups, the Cub Scouts, the Boy Scouts, the Girl Scouts, the moms were here, various meetings and events, because it was always like, oh, where could we have this, dinner, because all Cove Church has really nice fellowship hall. Cove Church has always been a good place to have things like that. We've had our food pantry. I know that Heather works hard to get utilities for the needy, and I think that we have a lot of assets here at Cove Church, especially in our location here downtown. And we've always, as Sandy said, we've always been, welcome to all people. So we've done a lot of good here.
at Cove Church, and I think a lot of it is location, where we're at. We're here, we're accessible to people as a positive view here for Cove Church. My second point I want to make was that if there's things that need done here in the church, my thought would be to make a wish list. Now, in scouting, if the Boy Scout troop needed something, we would make a wish list, whether it be a tent, a stove, or something like that. And ultimately, someone usually came forward to provide us for what we needed. I'm not saying someone's going to come and buy us a new furnace, air conditioning unit, or new windows, but there may be somebody out there who is willing to either help do it or help purchase it for us. If we would make a wish list that in order of necessity that needed to be done, then maybe we could get somewhere that way with staying here at Cove and doing the renovations, don't call it repairs, the renovations that we need to do here at Cove Church.
Thank you. Okay.
I agree with all of you. I've been here 60-some years. Bonnie there's beating me, I think. But the things we're talking about, they're all good. They're all good ideas. But the main thing is we're dodging the biggest thing: money. Money. We stay here. We're not going to decrease the expenses. Probably going to increase them quite a bit because the academy's leaving, and I don't know what the amount of money would need. Well, I'll tell you what. Just looking at the attendance today, what did you say a month?
The income, I think.
Sunday, probably about $700.
And what's the budget? What do you expect?
$12,000 a month.
All right, so you're taking in maybe 2,800, and just the utilities were the 12,000 or everything?
Not everything.
Okay.
But that's not considering the rent that we're getting now from the academy either.
Yeah, but they're ready to be here another 4
But the academy's going to leave. You're not going to guarantee. You're not going to have a guarantee that somebody else is going to pick that up. That would be wonderful. With the amount of people attending, not the amount on the books. And I think out of kindness, they haven't mentioned, when you have 275, whatever it is on the books, before your donations to the church, before anything goes to any of the bills or anything, what is it now, $30? For being a member of the church goes to the...
About per capita, yeah.
$30 that goes per capita before you ever have a penny. So you've lost that money right away. And the presbytery doesn't say, well, that's okay. You don't have to pay your per capita. You have to pay your per capita to be a member of the presbytery. And it's just, it breaks my heart because I remember when you turn around like this place was filled. On holidays, we had to put chairs up in the balcony. So you had the money coming in to pay for this building. But you don't have that kind of money coming in anymore. So, no matter how much we want to stay here, if that's the vote, then we also have to make pledges high enough to pay for staying here. You can't do it by wishing.
Okay, Wendy, and then Roger, and then I'm gonna call it because we've got the session needs to meet.
I know I'm one of the youngest people here. I understand that. I got married here myself. My kids have never known any other church, which is really hard when Silas is autistic to change on him. But I understand, and I love the building too, but the church is the people. Yes. So you're not going to be able to do the stuff in another building that you do here. I mean, if it's costing us more to stay here because everybody's gotten smaller, we need to find a smaller building so that everybody can stay together. And everybody can afford everything.
Thank you. Okay, and Bonnie hasn't.
No swearing, Bonnie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I'm an old timer here. 80 years ago, I come into this church, and I was here and working here as education director when this building was built. The reason it was built on this corner is Cove and Main was the busiest corner in the whole town. They wanted to stay here. We had a chance for property given to us by the Stervages up on the hill. They voted no. They wanted to stay on the important corner here at Cove and Main. We were a strong church. We're still a strong church if we stick together. But some changes have to be made. I mean, I'm old, and I know everybody says old people are so strict. I am willing to change, and I've gone along with a lot of the changes in the last few years, and Ed can verify that. But this is heartbreaking, it really is. But we've got to do something, and if we could stay here on this corner where we've been known for so long, would be wonderful. And I don't know how we can do it. I know the expense is something that is the big battle, but we have to work together some way. Surely God will be with us and help us. We know He's not going to let us down. So, before I break down, I just want to say, let's try to work together on this. I've tried to keep my mouth shut because a lot of times I open it and I say things I shouldn't. But I love this place, not the building. I love the people, I love the church, but we have to have a place to get together. And if this is it, let's keep it. Let's try to work and keep it if we can. I don't want to go on Marlin Heights. I don't want to go on Weirton Heights. I'd like to stay here. But we maybe can't. So let's try to work something out that we can keep Cove at Cove. I love you all. Thank you, Bonnie.
Just one quick thing. The education building, if you drive by on Main Street, you come off Cove, there's no way to know that it's available. I'd like to see some signs put up saying building for lease or building for rent, or something where people would have an idea.
Duly noted, Roger, and that is happening. When the entire property was listed, just to get a sense of whether there be interest, there was sensitivity by some that, thou shalt not put a sign up kind of thing, it was on the, I have to say, the visceral reaction of seeing the listing and the pictures on the internet was kind of a knee to the groin. It didn't feel real good. But with respect to just the academy piece, we have advised them to please do that. To Rocky's point, though, again, guys, so that everybody hears the same thing, because there have been contemplation of different scenarios. So this isn't talking out of both sides of our mouth. We are only looking now to try to lease that building. We were given a projected estimated sales price of $149,000 that we do not think is in our best interest because of the cost that we'd have to put in to sell it. That's a reduction. And then again, to Mr. Manley's point, we don't have any assurance of anybody being in there, but the intent is to rev up the efforts to try to get a tenant in there. Is everybody clear? But I don't want to insult anybody, but that's the direction. It's, when we were selling and looking to potentially sell just to gauge interest, it was the entirety. There was contemplation, people had different views, so that's where we're at. But you will see a sign.
And as a last comment, I want the most experienced and wisest person in this gathering to share what she thinks. Joy. Now, understand, when she speaks, it's going to be really, really important and meaningful. So listen carefully. You ready?
I guess. I don't know if I can live up to that, but all I want to say is I will support this church no matter where we are. Here, somewhere else, it doesn't matter, but unfortunately, it does come down to, like John said, practicality. It comes down to dollars and cents. And I mean, unfortunately, we don't have a lot of dollars and cents. I mean, endowment money, you said we've got like $750,000. Okay, well, one couple things we haven't mentioned is, which you and I have talked, the roof, which, I'm not by any means a roofer, but we've talked, and I mean.
Well, we didn't need to talk. It was leaking when you were here.
Yeah.
It was pouring into the kitchen when you were here.
Yeah. So, I mean, and, it is a flat roof, and I asked you what could be done. All you can do is patch that roof. But when the roof leaks, then you have other damage that's caused by that. So that's something too. And another thing is the elevator, which we haven't talked about, which you told me will not. Yeah.
We won't pass inspection on the elevator.
So, I mean, that's a big.
It costs us $700 to be told we don't pass.
Yeah, see, there we go. $700 just to say, sorry about your luck. But, I mean, money is a big thing, and, we're not, our congregation is small. We're a good group of people, But, like I said, I'll support it no matter what, but money is money, and when you come right down to it, I mean, God will provide, but, we need a little bit of help, And
we can't grow the church? Are we saying we can't grow the church?
That's the thing too. You've got to grow to get. You've got to
Everybody's
grow to
saying,
get
well,
the
we've
money.
got a downside, but we're not discussing the possibility of being able to grow.
Well,
The church is in town going down. Even the gas.
Well, let's like I said, this is a conversation for another meeting, a good conversation, but we've already been here. Look at the clock. We've been here a long time. Diana hasn't spoken.
I just have a suggestion. Cove means a lot to me, not only the people, but this building. This building is an icon in where everybody, you say Cove Church, everybody knows where Cove Church is. Why couldn't we, as a church, go to the city board? Why can't we say we need help to keep Cove alive, to keep Cove here, to keep Cove the building that is to everybody's heart and everybody's mind? Why couldn't we do like they're doing in Steubenville, say the theater? Why can't we do Save Cove? Why can't we put fillers out there and maybe have committees to really start pushing Save Cove? I mean, if they over there can earn money to redo that theater, why can't we here in Weirton raise money to Save Cove, the building and the department? Just a thought.
Wherever we go, we will survive. That's what we've got to remember.
That comes from a Broadway show, wherever we were, doesn't it, Bonnie? Let's have a word of prayer. Lord God, thank you so much for giving us this time together. As we leave, help us to feel as though the opinions have been shared that need to be shared. Guide and direct the session as we decide on a path to follow. And then help us do it. My goodness, help us to see that as your will and pursue it as best we can. In the name of Christ we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Y'all are dismissed except for session members.